Well, boils and ghouls, it's your old pal, John Kassir, the voice of the Crypt Keeper. And I want to welcome my good fiends of the Horror Heals podcast. Is horror good for mental wellness? But of course it is. I delight in the delicious deaths of pitiful people on the silver screen. So get ready for a hell of a good time with my new fiends, Corey and Kendall, on the Horror Heals podcast.
Before we dive into today's episode, we want to take a moment to honor a true icon in the world of film and horror. Olivia Hussey, who brought strength, grace, and unforgettable emotion to every role she played, passed away on December 27th. To horror fans, Olivia will forever be remembered as Jess in Black Christmas, a character who defied expectations, faced impossible odds, and showed a kind of courage that made her one of the genre's most compelling leads. But beyond the screen, Olivia's impact stretched far and wide, from her iconic portrayal of Juliet in Romeo and Juliet to the warmth and kindness she brought to everyone who had the privilege of meeting her.
Olivia didn't just act, she connected. Her performance in Black Christmas wasn't just about surviving, it was about resilience, independence, and complexity at a time when female characters weren't given such depth. It's that legacy that continues to resonate with audiences 50 years later. As we reflect on her remarkable career and the joy she brought to her fans, we also want to send out our heartfelt condolences to her family, friends, and everyone who loved her. Olivia, thank you for the art, the strength, and the inspiration. You'll forever be in our hearts.
This one's for you, Olivia. Rest in peace, and thank you for everything. All right, on to happier stuff. Welcome to Horror Heals, the podcast where we explore how the spooky and macabre can be downright therapeutic. I'm Corey, your horror enthusiast who firmly believes that Friday the 13th is indeed a lucky day.
And I'm Kendall, the slightly more skeptical half of this operation, but hey, I'm here for the healing and the creepy fun. Today, we have a real treat for you. The one and only spooky twins, Tonia and Tonie. These two have turned their love of horror into amazing art, and they've got some wild stories about growing up on a military base, navigating twinhood, and finding inspiration in everything from Stephen King to Fallout.
We're diving deep into their creative process, their thoughts on horror conventions, and, of course, how horror has been a source of comfort and connection for them. Buckle up, it's going to be a hell of a ride. Well, Tonia and Tonie, welcome to the show.
Hello. It's good to be here.
So, was very, very excited to find you on Etsy. You know, Kendall and I are huge horror fans, and I really appreciate the artists who get inspired by horror culture and do the kind of stuff that you do. And then to find out your twin sisters, I was like, ooh, we've got to get them on the podcast. So where did your passion for horror start?
We actually grew up in Japan. Our parents were military.
Okay.
We've spent from about 4 years old to 8 years old in Japan, in Okinawa, on the Kadena Air Force Base. And the neighborhood had all got in together and bought a VCR back in the day, and we're aging ourselves now. And the two industries that drove the VCR back then was pornography and horror. So you can guess which ones our parents let us watch. They would screen it ahead of time. We watched Friday the 13th, and at the very end, when Jason comes up out of the lake, we were all sitting on all four of us. We have two older sisters. We were all four sitting on the couch. Our dad, since they had screened it ahead of time for, boobs and bush, he was behind the couch, and he came up from behind the couch. I think we all four peed. I think ever since then, we've been searching for that pee moment.
Yep.
Ever since then. It's hard to find.
It is. You're right.
We also started associating kissing with getting killed.
No.
Because people would kiss in a movie, and then my parents would say, okay, hide your face. And then when we were able to look again, they were getting murdered because they weren't allowed to watch the part between.
Nope.
Sex equates getting an arrow in the throat.
Yes.
And that's what happens. When you start smooching a boy, you're going to get an arrow in the throat. So you can imagine that kind of childhood trauma.
No,
we blame her.
Yeah. No, I think it totally makes sense. And I always joke about that I didn't want to be the fornicating teenager who gets murdered in the first 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's funny, Kendall and I talk about this all the time. There's just these interesting coincidences with the podcast. We have another podcast called Family Twist that we've been doing for 2 years. Kendall's grandfather was stationed in Japan. So Kendall's father spent a few years in Japan as well.
Almost the same age as you two were.
Interesting.
I know.
We are about connection in every interview we do. Yeah, we did one yesterday and I brought up that I was, from Missouri and the guest was like, "Oh, I got a lot of Missouri, but she's writing a book, so she couldn't spoil everything." But yeah, looking forward to reading her book in the fall to see what her Missouri tie is.
Excellent.
Yeah, the way she fed those, there's a story.
Oh yeah,
or 12.
So we were just like giggling our faces off yesterday afternoon on your Instagram. You guys are so clever. I love that you're tying horror together because I think of them as intertwined.
It's true. We give good social media.
Where does the inspiration come for your social media posts?
You can tell what we're making because we can tell what we're watching or playing by what we're making. We started doing some Outlast stuff because I'm playing Outlast, or if we're listening to certain audiobooks or reading certain things, that's what we start making. Like Fallout, we made a bunch of Fallout stuff after Fallout came out.
Cool. Gotcha.
We also decided early on to lean into being, I guess, goofy, because that's what we are anyways, and it's going to come out. Yeah. So just lean into being kind of stupid. Just enjoy it, because if we're not having fun posting stuff, what's the point of doing it?
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So where did the inspiration come from taking your love of horror and turning it into artwork?
Me and my husband had started a business called Mystic Artisans, where we were making pagan stuff for pagans, and we were enjoying it and kind of getting our name out there. And it had started getting tedious because I felt like I was just making things people wanted to buy. Both of our families are pagan. So we were making wands and altar tool. We had seen where Shelby was getting a Comic-Con. They were going to get a Comic-Con. We were like, I wonder if what we would make would sell at somewhere like that. We just started making kind of more comic book stuff. I did wood burnings from like Superman and stuff like that. And it evolved into, you know what? I like horror more than anything else. And I really want to do some horror stuff. And so we started kind of pushing in that and pushing out of the pagan stuff. And then Tonia started doing a lot of paper crafts, like flower folding and wreath making. And she's an author as well. Initially, she's piggybacked on us. So we started doing Mystic Artisans and Tonia Brown. And then slowly that just evolved into, you know what? We should be a bit more kitschy. And I think it was Tonia that was spotted like, look, we should capitalize on being twins.
Yeah.
And so we just switched everything over to Spooky Twins. So
yeah, that was a moment deciding it's a gimmick, but it's a good gimmick, I guess, because people remember you. Whenever we go somewhere, we're the girls. People know who we are, and sometimes we have to tell because they'll see us and they'll see the product and stuff. When they see us together, we kind of sneak up on people. Often it's not deliberately. We'll kind of sneak up on people on either side of the booth. Yeah, and they'll see one of us at one side of the booth and the other one at the other side of the booth. I'm like, fast for a fat girl, aren't we? And then they dawned on them that we're twins, and they'll say, "Oh, you're twins." And then we have T-shirts made that say Spooky Twins. You're like, it's not just a gimmick. It's kitschy, but people remember it. So we decided just to go for the whole thing.
Marketing matters.
For sure.
Yes, it does.
We're pretty good at that.
I haven't seen too much stuff like this. The felt work. Who does that?
Tonia, I mostly do the felting. The dolls and some of the 3D stuff. And Sister will do some of the 2D, the flat felting. I think they call it felt painting or painting with fabric. She's good at it too. It's hard to kind of jack of a lot of trades. So you don't really focus on one thing.
You have to parse out what you want to do and focus on certain activities. I do a lot of wood burning and a lot of painting. Tonia does more felting, paper, crafts, violin. Of course, she's got the Cricut.
The Cricut makes things a lot easier. That was an investment. But my husband 3D prints. Her husband alters books to make the Necronomicons. We do some of the Book of the Dead. So Mr. Brown, and you'll hear me call him Mr. Brown because his name is also Tony. Our dad's name was Tony. Our first sister's son is Tony.
Our dad's name is Tony. Our
Our
first sister,
our first sister, yeah,
husband's
our
name
second
was
sister,
Tony.
yeah, named
Our
Tony.
son's
Sister's
name is Tony.
son is named Tony, and our maiden name's Anthony. So you'll hear me refer to the husband as Mr. Brown or B, but he does all our
sister's middle name is
Used to be.
Dawn, and my husband's name is Don.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. Now, let me make sure I got this straight. Your father's name was Anthony.
Tony.
Well, it wasn't Anthony. He wasn't short. It was
Oh, it was
Tony.
Tony.
I mean,
It was
his
Tony.
Christian name was Tony. Yeah.
Correct.
Wow.
So we were supposed to be one boy,
Oh.
Okay.
and we wound up being two girls instead. So that's how I got Tony.
6 weeks or so before we were born, we turned into two girls. That apparently our mother didn't want to tell our dad because he wanted boys. He said, I don't care. The first one out's going to be Tony.
Ta-da.
Lucky you, Tony.
I'm technically a junior.
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah. And he
Yeah.
said the first one out's going to be Tony Jr.
It's funny.
I'm very familiar with the horror convention culture in the Northeast here. There's quite a few in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. It's such a warm, open, accepting tribe of people. How is the vibe for horror conventions and pop culture conventions in the Carolinas?
It's fantastic.
You do your first one and they're so addictive.
The first large con that we did was a horror convention. If we hadn't done a horror convention as our first large con, we probably wouldn't have continued. We had so much fun and we were welcomed so openly and quickly. It gives you that lust for it. And you're like, yeah, this is great. I could do this all the time. And we did some other non-horror conventions and the vibe was really different.
Yes.
A lot more restrictive, I guess, and a little more, close to the vest, and nobody really wanted to. I don't know. It was weird. It's just weird.
Yeah.
Very
No,
weird.
I totally
Weird vibe.
Very weird
Because
vibe.
when I was a kid, the first conventions I would go to were comic book conventions because I was a comic book nerd. And I loved them. They were great because you get to meet all your favorite artists and writers and buy fun stuff. But the first time I went to a horror convention in California, I found my people.
We've done quite a few cons over the years. And I find that the non-horror cons, sometimes the folks that have been going for years tend to be a little more cliquish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when
That's
you go to a
definitely-
horror convention, you could be there for the first time and people treat you like family. So
Yeah.
it's interesting that group of people who are so into flat out murder and sex and death and the constant exposure of violence, and blood and laughing at people getting their heads cut off. But they're the ones that when you walk in the door, they're like, hey, how you doing, buddy? It's good to have you here. And,
Right.
come in and watch this horror death head cutting off with me.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's interesting. You get all of that out through this expression that when it comes to interacting with other people and that's this kind of same thing they're into, you're sort of closer to them. It's like you're both running from the monster now together because you've experiencing the monster on the side. So you're in it together.
Right.
So, but when you're with someone that doesn't watch horror, you kind of have to explain to them what the monster is, and then you're weird.
Trust and believe, we have to all the time. My mother, I can't watch that stuff. And my coworkers saying oh, no, I can't. And no scary stuff for me. I'm just like, okay, well, I find it cathartic.
For me,
To me, it's a yardstick. As soon as someone says, I don't like horror, I'm like, oh, well, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything they say after that doesn't matter.
it's not my favorite thing. Then that's
Right.
okay. I can still talk to you. But if you flat out don't like it, I don't have anything to say to you. I don't like Halloween.
Yeah.
That's
That is
another one.
wrong.
When people say I don't care for Halloween, I don't like Halloween, especially when it's October 30th and they go, oh, Halloween's tomorrow. I go, what universe
Right.
did you not know Halloween was tomorrow? Are you crazy? What is wrong with you? Because we take vacation at Halloween every year, and every year somebody would come to me and say, can I get you to work tomorrow? It's Halloween. I'm like, no, you must be new here. And then the other one is I don't like cats. So if someone says I hate cats, I don't care for cats. Cats aren't my favorite. I can deal with you. But if you say I hate cats, you need a punch in the cone's what you need. So yeah. You need a kick in the jocko.
I get the people that have allergies, but Kendall had an allergy when we met, and I still I forced him on him.
Yeah.
We had a
There you go.
I have a lot of friends that take medicine because they have allergy to cats and they want a cat or they want to be around cats, but just take their medicine. So, but I'm not going to turn it to Not going to turn into the cat podcast. I'm sorry.
She could die.
Yep.
Rein her in.
I get it.
Yeah,
'cause
we're nutty
You've,
animals.
you've seen our
Yeah.
Instagram page. You've seen the cat.
we have cats and dogs here
Yeah.
at our house.
Yeah, I
Aw.
wish our buddy Mr. Bernie was still around because he was the greatest black cat ever.
Yeah.
They broke the mold, but yeah, he passed last year. But he would have been like the perfect Instagram cat for this
For
the
sure.
podcast. and
And he will still make a appearance.
Oh,
We
yes,
have
of
so
course,
many
yeah.
photos of.
well, he was a dog in a cat suit,
Yeah.
you know. So
Yeah.
I once had
Precious.
a dog. I once had a dog in a chicken suit, or a chicken in a dog
Oh.
suit. His name was Finster. Yeah, he was a chicken in a dog suit. He was a schnauzer, a miniature schnauzer, and he was scared of everything.
Oh,
And he was raised around Yorkies,
Mm.
so I think it made him like really nervous and really tense all the time, you know. And I got him from my ex-in-laws before I got divorced, and he was a piece of work, but he was so sweet. He was such a sweet little dog. I miss him.
Okay.
We had newborn kittens in the house.
Oh.
One of our cats had got knocked up, and it made him pee and just shudder and squeal. He couldn't be around them. They were terrified him.
That's so.
Terrified him.
so
Newborn kittens.
Poor baby.
I'll bring us back to the subject because we could go on for
Oh yeah,
Sorry.
I
Sorry.
told you. I told you.
totally off.
Railroad.
Stories. We have.
You're on topic.
So, you know, I've have my ongoing struggles with anxiety, and, you know, the horror conventions are one of my happy places. So, do you relate to our theme of podcast of like horror and healing?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh yes.
I do. Uh-huh.
Yes.
I find myself, if I'm feeling like having, anxiety troubles, or, even feeling a little depressed. I was a little blue earlier this week, and I get on a really good game and kill a couple things. I feel better,
Yeah.
or, have a marathon of, just really good gory movies. It helps. It really helps. And it's different for different people. Some people like to watch, do girly movies when they're feeling down, and some people like to go out and bash people's faces in online.
Right.
So it's different strokes, I guess, for different folks. But yeah, I do. I really do. I agree with you.
I was going to say that horror also, as when we were growing up, we were always different, I think, because of being identical twins. Also, a little chunky, and I think horror for us was a kind of an escape. And we were also raised in that era of the Blockbuster. I say Blockbuster, but for us, it was Family Video was one of them. There was another little place we used to go to that used to be God, that was awesome. Like, I really wish I could remember the name of the little store. You don't think you need to remember that stuff when you get older. But we spent so many hours. Yeah, so many hours. Our dad would take us over there and drop us off and just wait on us. And we'd run in and grab, and it was almost exclusively horror movies. And this was back when you couldn't, you couldn't stream, and you couldn't look up stuff online about them. So you had to get the Fangoria or hope they'd put an article somewhere where you could read some more about it. And Peter Jackson's Dead Alive. Oh my God, that was just, I thought we'd died and gone to heaven. That was one of the best things we'd ever done. And it was always such a delight to discover these movies. And it was just a escapism, pure escapism for us, but we loved it, and we loved to do makeup, and Halloween was just our, it was our Christmas, and we'd always together. It was something we just shared together, and we shared it with our mom in some way. And we're going to get off on a touchy subject. We won't get into it a lot because I don't want the rest of the podcast to be about that. But as our sister puts it, our mother was kind of a piece of work, and it was kind of the one thing that we did right. The one thing we could do right was watch horror with her. We always seemed to pick out a good movie, and she always seemed to like or share that with us. It was the one thing we all agreed on. Let's put it that way.
She kind of got us into that love of Stephen King too. She really loves Stephen King.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah, she used to. She's passed away now, but she used to
No
read
love
and
lost.
do. It's a complicated relationship still. And she's not even here anymore. But yeah, she introduced us to horror basically. And our dad was into it, but he was more into the goofy side of Halloween. And he He was a lot of fun as well. He's not with us anymore either. And so I think horror for us was a real chance for us to not be who we were.
Yeah.
To be something else, to give us a chance to escape, basically.
Yeah, I totally relate, Tonia. It's, my dad's not with us any longer either, and we had a complicated relationship, but I think it's important to have those touchstones of, the good stuff, and he definitely introduced me to horror way too early, but still, that's one of the things that, like, he introduced me to horror, and he introduced me to, comedy, Monty Python and Saturday Night Live. And so and things that, are still today. So, like, while we've got, the relationship is still complicated, I can look back on those and thank him for those things.
Yeah. I feel fortunate that my mother allowed my dad to experience horror with me. In other words, it wasn't her thing. She would indulge us, and she would, she wouldn't complain about anything, but you could tell, she'd much rather be watching a rom-com. But, Dad and I were like, no, it's got to be horror, and I appreciate that she kind of let that be our thing. And I remember telling her how cool I thought things were. And she's like, that's nice, honey. I feel like she couldn't care less. She was just nodded her head and said, you and your dad are weird. And I was like, damn right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You brought back some great memories of just talking about the Blockbuster era. And like, I loved the mom and pop, shops before Blockbuster, really, took everything over. And, Bud's Video, shout out to old Bud's Video in Florissant, Missouri. And, I love just going to that horror aisle and just like you said, you don't really know anything about it because there's you can't go online and be like, what's this movie about? So you base it on the box. The box has got to sell you.
It was a day you had to shop by the box. Yep. And the more outrageous the box was, the better the movie obviously had to be.
Right. Yep. Not always the case.
And the posters.
Oh, and
the posters, because we used to get the posters. Yeah, we had a hookup at the videos because we went so often. We had a hookup, and he'd save them for us. Awesome. And you had to go in and claim them. You have to go in and claim them. I want that one. And like, oh, somebody's already asked for that one. Yep. And, you did what you could.
Yeah.
Plastered. Our walls were plastered in our bedroom all the way up the ceiling.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I had the full size Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors cardboard standee. Man, I was.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well,
nice. I actually worked at Hollywood Video for about 2 or 3 years.
Very cool.
Gosh, let me see. It was around 9/11 because I was there when it happened.
Oh, wow.
How long ago was that? It's been a couple years, but so I was like the horror. If anybody asked any horror questions, they came straight to tell me. Awesome. They knew, so I kept up the horror aisle and had all the horror answers, and so that was kind of fun.
I don't want to diss my hometown, but they weren't the shopkeepers weren't known for being creative. And I think, if I remember right, my best friend will have to confirm this for me. I think our video store was named the Video Store. Yeah, classic.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and the guy that ran it, he must have hated seeing me come in. He called me the reader, and I find it's because I had to read every box. Every box. Yeah. He was like, "Yeah, you just read that." You know what I mean? It was just funny. He probably wanted me to get the hell out of there.
So I know, got some conventions coming up. What's it like prepping for, are you guys just like boom, 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 just banging stuff out? Because you got to have, inventory, obviously, to do a con.
You try to play. Yeah, listen to her because she hasn't made anything in a while. You try.
I've been sidetracked.
You look at your convention schedule and you tell yourself, this time I'm going to spend doing this. This time I'm going to spend doing this. And this time I'm going to do this. And the week before I can knock out these 2 things and then I'll be done. And then a month ahead of time, you're like, oh my God, I haven't done anything because I've been playing out last trials for 6 weeks. No. Oh, I'm sorry. That wasn't me. That's you.
That. And then your whole house smells like Krylon clear coat for 2 days because it rains and you can't spray anything outside. So you have to spray everything
No.
indoors so your cats are high in the kite. I've got it.
Or you could sit back with an actual schedule and say, I need to felt these 2 days and I need to make, because I am apparently so anal. Arnold's jewelry is following me around with coal trying to shove it up my ass so they can make diamonds because I like to keep a fucking schedule.
I didn't say that. I said it was K Jewelers. Thank you very much.
K Jewelers, sorry. We got Arnold's on the brain because I need my rings resized. Shout out to Arnold.
Have you guys seen the episode of SpongeBob where he plans the party and he's got the big long list that goes all the way around the room and you have to stay on schedule because SpongeBob wants you to stay on schedule? That's sister.
Okay. All right.
We call her SpongeBob. Whenever we say we're fixing to do an event, Tonia's going to SpongeBob it. And you need someone to SpongeBob it. That's her job, is to SpongeBob it. My job is to flake. I'm the talent.
She is the talent.
Oh.
She is the talent. I will say, I will say that I enjoy making things and I enjoy the paper folding and the felting and stuff, but sister is honestly more talented than I am. She's got your artistry is incredible. She's drawn from a very young age. She started drawing, probably we were maybe 7 or 8. She picked up and started drawing, and our dad recognized it, and he encouraged her, and she ended up doing, what was it called? The art school thing that you did at home?
Oh, remember little drawing heads that you would see in the back
The
of
little
the
drawing
heads? Art instruction school. Yeah, I have
Art instruction school. That was it.
Yeah, I had a
She did
certificate
that.
from art instruction schools.
Yeah. Our dad encouraged it and let her do it. And they sent little packets and she'd fill them out and draw the stuff and send them back. And she got graded.
That's
It was
so
awesome.
cool.
And our dad was always really fascinated with her art.
My mom hated when I would draw on notebook paper. So, and we didn't have a lot of money to buy a lot of sketchbook paper. And so my dad would bring home, he worked in the military, and he would bring home sheets that, I shouldn't say this out loud. He would bring home paper that he was supposed to shred, but he would bring it home and I would draw on the back side of it.
You're drawing on classified documents.
Yeah.
So I'm drawing on quite possibly classified documents. But he would bring home boxes of paper that he was supposed to shred, and I would just draw on the backside because it was, so I've got a whole stack of drawings from when I was a kid. The backside of it, it's redacted documents. Probably shouldn't have said that.
I love it.
Trust me, if it was super important, they wouldn't have given it to my dad.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That's the truth. He was not that important.
Yeah. God love it.
Now, have you ever thought about doing a con up here in the Northeast?
We'd like to, but the drive, good Lord, it's an investment because, with cons are more about connections than they are about selling. So we have to at least clear, break even at least. I'd love to make money. We would love to make money doing stuff. And if we can make money, that's fantastic. But we don't make a lot doing conventions, which is why we don't do many of them, because the kind of things we sell, people really aren't expecting.
Right.
So they come in and they see this, 24 by 36, It's a Wonderful Life done in blood from Exorcist 3, and they did not expect that to be there, and they don't want to carry it around. They don't want to have to take it home. But you can buy it and we can mail it to you. So that's kind of what we try to do, is to get people. We do a lot of custom. We do custom work. Cool. So just reach out to us. So that's another thing about it, is the drive, the expense. We would love to, but it just is, a lot of it's the distance. If we can't make the trip in a day, then we have to really put some thought into whether or not we can do it. I think Knoxville is about the highest we've come up.
Yeah, I get it, because like you said, it is a lot if you have to carry a big piece around, and if you're not on the hotel and you're not staying there, if you could take it right back to your room, great. But if you're not, I get it. Because it's you know how crowded those things can get. It's you're just
Oh yeah. And we will hold things. So just to let you guys all know out there in Radio Land, if you buy from us at a convention, we will hold it for you and you can pick it up later. That's fantastic. We would love to do that for you.
We've done it.
Yeah.
What a fun first half of our conversation with Tonia and Tonie. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your incredible journey, both as sisters and as spooky creators.
Seriously, you've given us so much to think about, from the power of horror to heal, to the importance of leaning into who you really are, even if it's just a little kitschy and spooky.
And for all of you out there, don't forget to check out the Spooky Twins on social media. Links in our show notes. Their work is clever, creepy, and just plain fun. Plus, if you're at a convention near them, you absolutely need to see their booth.
And don't forget, if horror has been a source of healing for you, let us know. Drop us a line on Instagram. Who knows, maybe you'll end up on the show. Until next time, stay spooky, stay healing, and keep searching for that pee-pee moment. Bye, everybody.
And remember, no smooching if you're in the woods. You never know who's lurking nearby with a bow and arrow. And if someone asks you, is horror good for mental wellness? You tell them, of course it is. The Horror Heals podcast is produced and presented by How the Cow Ate the Cabbage, LLC.